The drone comparison you didn't know you needed. The DJI Neo versus the HoverAir X1 Pro Max versus the DJI Flip versus the original HoverAir X1. This is a video you want to stay until the end for. I'm going to go through all 4 drones, and by the end of it, you are going to know what drone is right for you. Let's talk about the similarities between these 4 drones. They're all under 250 grams. All drones can be hand launched and they don't need a controller to be flown. The other really cool thing is that all 4 drones can shoot vertical video. Now that's where the similarities kind of end. They've all got their own unique offerings here and they've all got something quite special going on. How well do all 4 cameras compare? And are there any similarities when it comes to video quality? The DJI Flip, which is DJI's latest drone, can capture 4K 60 frames per second HDR video. It can also capture 10-bit video. On top of that, it can capture 4K 100 frames per second in slow motion, and it is a 1/1.3 inch CMOS sensor. I actually struggled to find exactly what sensor the HoverAir X1 uses, but what we know for certain is that it can capture 2.7K at 30 frames per second. It can also capture 1080p up to 60 frames per second. And if you're looking for HDR options, you can go up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. The little Neo here uses a 1/2 inch sensor, and it can capture 4K 30 frames per second and 1080p up to 60 frames per second. And then finally, the HoverAir X1 Pro Max offers a 1/1.3 inch CMOS sensor. So the same size as the DJI Flip, but this guy can capture 8K footage up to 30 frames per second. You can also capture 4K up to 120 frames per second in slow motion. And then for HDR, you can go 4K 60 frames per second HDR. And there is also 10-bit color options as well. They are all quite different. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a lot of footage coming up and it will let you know what captured what shot. So we might even have 4 different images and you'll see which drone captured which video. And then we're also going to have some full screens for each drone because they've all got their own unique look. Now, in terms of the 2 cheaper options here, the Neo and the HoverAir, they definitely aren't as good in terms of their video quality. They are the cheaper option and they have the smaller sensor on them. Still pretty good for travel footage and for some basic kind of stuff, but they definitely don't hold the flame to the other 2 drones. The DJI Flip seems to have the same camera system as the Mini 4 Pro. It is a 1/1.3 inch sensor. You can capture 4K up to 60 frames per second HDR. Video quality has been great with it. I've had no major issues, nothing to really complain about with this unit. Again, if we compare it to the other 2, the Neo and the HoverAir X1, this guy definitely can capture some better footage overall. Now, amazingly enough, on paper, the HoverAir X1 Pro Max is the better camera system. It is still only a 1/1.3 inch sensor, so it actually technically has the same size sensor as the DJI Flip, but it can capture 8K video. Now, the 8K video does look great. Hard to say whether it's true 8K or whether it's kind of been scaled in some way. I can't really say it's significantly better than the Flip. I would say these 2 have quite similar video quality, especially because they've got the same size sensor. The Pro Max though, for its size and for what it's offering, is insanely impressive. And the fact that you can get 8K from it is awesome. But again, keep in mind, are you going to be using 8K? Do you need 8K? Do you even have an 8K monitor? Are you even going to bother uploading in 8K? It's not for everyone. And most of the time, you're probably going to shoot in 4K with this guy anyway. In terms of photo quality from all 4 drones, the DJI Flip can capture 48 megapixel stills, and so can the Pro Max. But if we look at the X1, it can only capture 12 megapixel stills, and that's the same for the Neo as well. So both the X1 and the Neo can both capture 12 megapixel stills. Photo quality is fine from them, but if we look at the other 2 drones, again, this is where they stand out. These 2 can capture 48 megapixel stills. And because they've got a larger sensor, photos definitely do pop more. So when we talk about the functionality of each drone, that's what's really impressive to me, right? They're all very unique drones. Like I said at the beginning, you can fly them without a controller, but then they all have their own unique way as well of controlling them. Now, if we look at the Neo, this guy to this day still impresses me with how many options you have to fly this. So you can either just hand launch it, you can then use the app, and you've got manual controls in there, as well as the quick shot modes that you can access through the app. You can control it with your voice as well, which is really interesting to see. On top of that, there's a bunch of different controller support, and there's different options for FPV flight as well. So you can use FPV controllers and FPV goggles. So this is a full FPV drone, and considering its size, it's the smallest of the bunch, really, like close to the smallest of the bunch. If it folded, it would be even smaller. But yeah, this guy is crazy impressive for what it can do and all the different ways you can control it. Now, if we look at the X1, which is kind of like a direct competitor really of the Neo, the original X1 is great and its core functionality is the hand launching, right? You fold it out and you can just launch it like that. Now, this was the first drone that came out that perfected this way of flying, being able to just unfold it and then launch it without having to connect it up, and it works flawlessly. But the limitations here is that you have no controller support and you can only either hand launch it or you can connect it to the app and then control it through the app. Now, the manual controls are very basic through the app, so this is probably the weakest performing of the bunch when we talk about like functionality with different controller support, but still its core functionality is that hand launching and it works perfectly well. This is a weird one to me. The DJI Flip can't even flip. Like, flip? What's flipping going on? You know, like honestly, it's called the Flip, but you can't flip it. There's no FPV functionality with it, which is bizarre to me. There might be updates in the future, you hope, but you can't flip it. So it's called the DJI Flip, but it's got less functionality than the Neo, and the Neo can flip. The Flip can't flip. Looking at the DJI Flip, you can hand launch it, and then on top of that, you have the option to control it through the app, and you can use voice controls as well, and there are a few different controllers that you can use to control it and get some more range out of it as well. But again, no FPV functionality here. You can't use goggles, you can't use any of the FPV controllers or anything like that. It's just limited to what I mentioned. Now, looking at the ProMax, it definitely is an improvement over the original. There's some more options here, so you've got that core experience where you can just hand launch it. On top of that, you can control it through the app. You've got manual controls through the app that are now full screen, which is great to see. And then we've got a really exciting modular controller. So you've got the beacon here, which can control the drone independently without anything else. And then with this magnetic clipping design, you can then clip into place an additional piece. So that connects in, and then you've got a full motion controller. That works quite well. A little bit limited, but it does a great job and is quite a fun experience. And then you can connect up the final piece and turn it into a full controller. So to me, this is one of the more innovative pieces of tech I've seen from a drone company in recent time. Works really well, had no issues with it. So together with the drone, you have full controller support now. Flight time is an interesting one here because they vary quite significantly between the four drones. So we've obviously got the little Neo here, we've got the X1, both got quite small batteries. The ProMax has got quite a small battery. And then the one that stands out is the Flip with this larger battery system here. It's obviously a larger drone, the Flip, but that's where it stands out in terms of battery life. The Flip is giving us 31 minutes of flight time, which is awesome to see. The HoverAir X1 is giving us 11.5 minutes of flight time, so significantly less than the Flip. If we look at the Neo, that's got 17 minutes of flight time with the guards. So you can actually remove these guards here and then you get an extra minute. They say about 18 minutes of flight time, but 17 minutes for this guy. And then looking at the ProMax here, you're getting 16 minutes of flight time. The worst battery performance comes from the original HoverAir. And then it goes to the ProMax, which actually has 16 minutes, 17 minutes on the Neo, which is very impressive that they're still able to keep up with the latest from HoverAir. And then the Flip at 31 minutes is taking the cake here. This drone really does outweigh them all, beats them all when it comes to that flight time. All drones can follow you, and they all have different quick shot modes or intelligent flight modes. They all work really well. It's quite a similar offering across the board. The ProMax recently added some exciting new ones. So there's this dolly zoom mode, there's indoor follow, they added a skiing mode as well, like a following mode when you're skiing. So the ProMax actually has probably more modes than the others, but the core functionality, the follow modes, the droney mode, the circle, all of those kind of ones are similar across the board from all 4 drones here. You're probably not surprised to hear that the X1 and the Neo both have no obstacle avoidance on them. They both have these little sensors, these downward facing sensors here, and that works for when you're trying to hand catch it, and it's also to let the drone know if there's anything below it, right? So those two are very basic sensors, but outside of that, there's no obstacle avoidance here. They can both still follow though, but you have to be careful that they have no idea, obviously, what's going on and what's in front of them. Keep in mind though that they both do a pretty good job of trying to avoid things. So I've had the Neo actually going around trees. The X1 can do a similar thing as well, but they are quite smart in that regard, even though they don't have obstacle avoidance sensors. The Flipper's got this brand new sensor on the front here that also doubles as the panel to display what mode you're in, and they call this the 3D infrared sensing. Now, what it can do is it can actually brake, so it can't bypass technically, even though I've had it kind of darting around trees a little bit, but it does have a dedicated obstacle avoidance on the front. So that works really well when you've got it in follow mode, because it's behind you and it's flying towards potentially obstacles. Straight when you put it into like a direction track and it's flying away, it's got no obstacle sensors on the back. So I actually had it hit into a few trees in that scenario. So just be aware that the primary here is the front facing obstacle avoidance. And so interestingly enough, the ProMax actually went with the opposite. So they don't have front facing obstacle avoidance, they have rear obstacle avoidance here. So to me, this is actually a really cool separation from the Flip, right? Because what that actually means is if it's flying backwards, it's going to be able to sense things behind it. And so there are a lot of different modes where it's flying backwards. So to me, I actually think that that was the better option, to have it as a rear-facing obstacle avoidance sensor. It depends on what your use case scenarios are and how often you find yourself flying forward or back. Interesting that we've got a rear obstacle avoidance here and a front-facing obstacle avoidance on the Flip. Both the DJI Flip and the ProMax have a level 5 wind rating. Now, impressive to see that on the ProMax, such a small folding drone, but I can definitely vouch for this guy. I was on an island testing this out, and it was very, very windy on many occasions because there's obviously no shelter. You're on an island, it's just direct line of wind, and this guy could handle it. Even when I went relatively high up, it could handle it like a champ. It has that level 5 wind rating. When I tested it with the leaf blower, it didn't even struggle. It was able to handle it really well. Now the Flip does have a level 5 wind rating as well, so technically it should be able to handle the same kind of scenario. It did actually struggle a little bit with the leaf blower. It kind of came towards me and then crashed, so keep that one in mind. The other thing you have to be hyper aware of here is because of the way that they've designed this with the full coverage propeller guards, this can fly really far away, which I'll get into very soon. But the problem is that it's not as aerodynamic as, for example, some other drones that we've seen. So that actually means that if you're trying to fly against the wind, this guy can really struggle to come back to you. The speed drops significantly, and it's a little bit of a worry if you're flying a little bit too far away. Keeping in mind that that's pretty much the same case for all of these drones, right? Like some of them have limited range, which I'll get into in a second, but you don't really want to be flying these too far away, purely in case the wind direction changes or you haven't prepared for that. It's going to be very hard to fly one of these back. Now, both the Neo and the X1 have a level 4 wind rating, so they can handle slightly lighter winds. Impressed across the board with how they can handle it in most scenarios. The Neo, like I said, has a bunch of different functionality, so you can actually fly at quite a distance, but I would recommend keeping this nice and close and making sure you have some wind apps on your phone. Like make sure that you've got like a wind compass app, or there's like Drone Buddy as well. Definitely have some wind apps on your phone if you're going to have one of these. On that note, let's talk about the range here between the 4 drones. The original X1 actually has a range of 30 meters. So not huge. If you're using just the drone itself, you've got a few different settings that you can go between and you can adjust the range, but you can't go ridiculously far. If you connect it to the app and go in manual control, your max is 30 meters. So this is definitely designed to be kept nice and close to you. The Neo, amazingly enough, has OcuSync 4 technology and has 10 kilometers of range, which is insane. You have to be really careful. Level 4 wind rating, you're not going to get this back with the battery life and the fact that it can't handle strong winds. So make sure you fly this guy really close, but still huge range, 10 kilometers from this drone. The ProMax has a bunch of different ways of controlling it, but if we connect it up to the beacon in its like true ultimate form, you can get up to 1 kilometer of range with this. I would not be pushing it anywhere near that really, but you do get significantly better range than the original at least. So they're saying 1 kilometer of range with the beacon. And then the Flip utilizes OcuSync 4 and can get up to 13 kilometers of range. Like I mentioned, keep in mind you do not want to be trying to fly against the wind to get this back because it will fly very slow. Still, you have huge range from this guy and it does have a level 5 wind rating, so you can be confident knowing that it's going to be okay, but I would always recommend keeping this not too far away from you. So if you are interested in one of these 4 drones that I've been talking about in this video, whichever one you're looking for, I will have some links down below, so make sure to check them out. There are some great savings down there. And if you're based in Australia, I actually have some exclusive deals for my Aussie audience. I've helped Australians save over $70,000 on their drone purchases, drone camera and accessory purchases. So if you're interested in one of these guys or any other DJI drone camera for that matter, reach out to the D1 store directly. That's sales@d1store.com.au. Mention DansTube and you'll be able to save through them. You can also use the code DansTube on their website to save on most cameras, drones, and accessories. And then for the hover range, I will also have some links down in the description below, so make sure to check all of those links down there. You're probably noticing a theme here that they're all very different drones. Now, at the end, I'm actually going to kind of rank them based on like my preferences and what I think a lot of people are going to be going for, but hopefully you can see that they're all very different, right? They vary in terms of what you're getting out of them, the different functionality with them, camera quality, flight time, all of that is quite unique across the board here. The final comment before I let you guys know my overall thoughts is the storage. So if we look at the DJI Flip, it's only got 2 gigabytes of internal storage, which is quite odd to me, but you do have the option to expand that storage with the micro SD spot here. The X1 has built-in 32 gigabytes of storage, and I find that that's perfectly fine, especially for the quality of video that you're capturing on it. You're going to be able to go out on multiple shoots and fill up the internal storage with no issues. The Neo has 22 gigabytes of internal storage, and yes, it can fill up a little quicker than the X1 because you're shooting in 4K, but still I find that it's relatively fine. You can go out on multiple shoots and it's not really a major issue here. 22 gigabytes has been fine. And then finally, the ProMax here has 64 gigabytes of internal storage, and then it also has the option to add additional storage with the micro SD slot there. There are definitely different scenarios where I'd recommend each drone, right? Like they're all great in their own right, and I'm sure that you're going to be happy with whichever one you get. Now, I think when I have to try to condense this down into like my overall impressions, I'm kind of thinking in terms of like 2 categories, right? So if you've never owned a drone before and you're looking to get a drone, I think that's one category I'm going to go into. And then if you already own a drone, I'm also then going to mention what I think for that scenario. So if you've never owned a drone before, honestly, the Neo is the one to get. There's so much different functionality with it. You can hand launch it. You can use all sorts of controllers and headsets and motion controllers. You can use your voice. It's great, right? Video quality is great. It's a fun drone and you're absolutely going to love it. It's so much fun to use. And so I think in that same kind of vein, maybe the X1 would make the most sense for that second best drone for a beginner, for someone who's never owned a drone before. It's just so much fun to use. The app is great. There's a lot of community elements to it, and it's just a great drone to have with you. If you're not too serious about drones, then this is a great one to look into. The third spot actually is going to go to the Flip. It's just a little bit more advanced than the Neo when it comes to the video quality. You've obviously got obstacle avoidance on it. It's still under 250 grams. It's a unique folding design. So I think for me, the Flip is the third spot for a beginner. And so in that last spot is the ProMax here. Still a great drone. They're all phenomenal drones, but I'm thinking in terms of the beginner. This is not a cheap drone for what you're getting. If we think about it in comparison to the Flip can fly a lot further. It's a lot more reliable when it comes to range. And you know, I would say the camera quality between the two is quite similar. Yes, the ProMax has 8K, so technically it is better, but it's the same sensor here. And you are limited a little bit more with the range here. It's still, like I said, a phenomenal drone, and I think this is great for beginners. It's just that price point is a little hard to justify the ProMax version. Now for the people out there that already own a drone, if you've already got something else, right, and you're considering one of these four, because they are quite similar in some ways, then I think my list changes here, right? It's definitely a different list. So you've already got a drone and you're thinking about getting something else. I think the Neo is still number one. I think this is the most fun you can have with a backup drone. Like if you've already got a primary that's for your longer flights and better video quality, then something like this is going to just open up so many options. You can actually use it for FPV, so you can have full manual flight with it. You can do all sorts of fun things, and it's a great travel companion, great to introduce other people into drones. And so I really can't knock the Neo. I think it really still is the number one spot here for me, even for someone who's got another drone. The number two spot is going to the ProMax here. It's a great drone. It really is an awesome drone for what you're getting here, for its size and everything. Not a cheap drone, so it's a little bit of a hard one to recommend if you've already got something else. But I think if you're wanting that 8K video, if you're wanting something like this that you can just hand launch, but you also have the option for motion controls and the beacon and all the different fun modes that you have with it, the ProMax is great. You've got some awesome advanced modes in here. And this one, if you can stomach the price point, is a great option if you already own another drone. For the number three spot, I'm going to give it to the X1 here. Like I said, if you've already got a drone, this is a good one. This is a great one to get into because of the fact that you probably already have a more cinematic drone. You have something that you can fly distance away. It's probably got decent camera quality on it. So something like this, again, is just a lot of fun to have. It's a great travel drone. You've still got follow modes and all sorts of fun modes with it. And great travel drone, great to introduce people to the drone space. So I think this for me is number three. And then in the number four spot is the Flip. And again, it's because you've probably already got another drone. Let's say, for example, you've got the Mini 4 Pro. Hard to recommend something like this because the Mini 4 Pro kind of is already this, but it has other things that are going on, better obstacle avoidance, all sorts of fun stuff as well. So for me, if you've already got another drone, it's hard to recommend the Flip. It is still a great drone and it's fun if you want to have that hand launching and you want to have a unique drone offering here. The Flip is great, but if you already have one, I think the other three are probably the ones I would recommend over considering the Flip. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. That is my DJI Flip versus ProMax versus X1 versus Neo. Thank you for all of your support, and I'll chat to you in the next one. Peace.